It's 8:30 Eastern Time, the only time zone that knows the difference between Greenland and Iceland, and that means it's time for C2C Live, brought to you by CampusToCanton.com. On a wintry version of tonight's show, we're recapping the national championship game. Plus, we're going to get gutsy. We're going to predict the 2026 Heisman winner. All that and more right after the stinger. Austin Nace and Matt Bruening here with you tonight. No Chris K. I kid you not, said that he's on a company trip in Miami.
Yep.
You can buy that. Mrs. K, if you listen to the show, I don't know. I cannot confirm that, but that's where he says he is. So back.
Wait. You were supposed to confirm that because I thought he said he's on a company trip to Miami for Campus to Canton, and isn't that what he says? So we're kind of like blowing his cover completely now.
I will cover for no man. I will cover for no man. That's well, fair. If the price is right, but in this case it was not. So
I got you, Chris, because snitches get stitches and all that stuff. I'm pretty sure we sent him down for the national championship, Miss K. I don't control the finances, but I think that's what happened.
It was. I meant to ask him if he just looked into tickets to see if prices dropped, the night of, sometimes like an hour before you can get into these games at like a pretty reasonable price that, being right in Miami's backyard, maybe wasn't so plausible.
Yeah. I mean, what was it? I think the people were talking about like day of tickets were still like $5,000-$6,000 a ticket just to get in. So, I mean, that happened obviously for the Ohio State Miami game here, but actually the very first 4-team playoff national championship was here at Jerry World. It was the Ohio State Buckeyes versus Oregon. I had bought tickets when Zeke did his run through the heart of the South when he ran that like 60-yard touchdown against Alabama to kind of seal the win. And
the smile on your face that just
such a great run. No, it was a great moment in Ohio State Buckeyes history. But I paid. I don't really care to I have the ticket back there actually behind me hanging up on the wall. When that happened, I got on and immediately bought tickets for my dad, myself, and my brother to go, and they were roughly $1,500 a ticket. I looked day of, as you were talking about, as we were walking to the stadium, they were like $400 a piece.
You shouldn't have done that. That was
I know.
Was mistake number
well,
one.
No. I honestly don't care because it's a memory I will never, I hope never forget, even if Alzheimer's comes a knocking or whatever. That's something I never forget about. But yeah, it was worth it to be there and see, the Ohio State win its first national championship since I think whatever it was when they beat Miami. I don't remember. Very, very long time ago.
Yeah.
I was
whatever year that was.
Then. Yeah.
Well, to close the loop on that, funny enough, on stories about buying tickets day of, my wife's family is originally from like North Central PA, and if anybody really knows PA, it's basically like the right half of the state is all Philly fans, the left half of the state is like all Pittsburgh fans, and but like the tiny stuff up top on like the New York border, they're like the closest thing is like the Bills. They don't really root for either team. It's very interesting. So she actually, my mother-in-law grew up there and grew up Cowboys fan because her dad was a Cowboys fan, and so like because they weren't close to anything, like that's the games that they got, and so that's what that meant to the Bills. So that's what she watched. So every 4 years the Steelers play the Cowboys, and every 8 years they play them in Pittsburgh. A few years ago, I guess it was. Oh man, how long have I been married? It was about 8 years ago, probably.
Something you should remember.
The Cowboys. My wife, as she tells me, doesn't ever listen to the show. The Cowboys came to Pittsburgh. She and my mother-in-law was like, "We have to get tickets. And I was like, the tickets were expensive when they first dropped, and I was like, right. I think they're going to drop as the game gets closer. Well, it was a season where I believe both teams were pretty good, and tickets like doubled by the time like a couple weeks, like, and they never went down. And I was like, my bad. So that was fun. But
it's funny that you tell that story because now I actually understand, not saying that your mother-in-law is a front runner, but now I understand why Colin's a front runner. I guess does he live in that same does Colin live in that same section of like no real, so he just roots for all the winners? No, he lives he actually lives near.
He grew up in like smack in the middle of the state. I would expect most people in that area Probably to be Eagles fans, if I had to guess.
Eagles
I will say
fans.
his family, his dad is from Baltimore and
Yeah.
grew up a Colts fan, but like now hates. But he adopted the Ravens after they put a team back in
Right,
Baltimore.
right.
So like Colin's dad is a Ravens fan. His brother is a big Ravens fan, and I've gone to Ravens Steelers games with his brother. And then Colin's just this douchebag that roots for the Dodgers, the Blues, the Falcons.
Well, I mean, like, it kind of makes sense, I guess. At least the Falcons part. Maybe he just mixed up the Dirty Bird there, not instead of Ravens, the Falcons, and he just got a little confused.
Well, they wear black jerseys and it's a bird. Yeah, just
he's like, oh, I like those guys. So that's interesting.
Yeah, that's Colin's backstory. I give him crap for it all the time. All right. I figured tonight, I mean, we were just going to talk kind of a debrief on the national championship game for most of this. I thought it was a lot better of a game than I expected it to be. And let's kind of start there. What was we were talking about this like behind the scenes, like the company group of us. Did you put a prediction in the chat?
I don't believe I did because I was actually at soccer practice before the game started, but I believe was the only one who thought the game was going to be close. I know Chris K thought it was going to be a blowout because we previewed
we were all putting like 2-3 touchdown gap on the score. I said 35-10, and I was kind of like in the middle of the range of where everyone expected that game to finish.
Gotcha. Yeah, I know when me and Chris previewed it last week, he was very much on the Indiana's going to blow them out thing. Although he did say kind of at the end, maybe to just kind of like give both sides of the argument. He was like, but I'm also kind of pushing for that because if you're going to go all in on money, whatever he was betting on, you might as well just go all in. So he went very heavy on that. Now I thought it would be a closer game, mainly because of Miami's defense. Again, one thing that I think Indiana was the best team throughout the year. I had certain people trying to explain to me I thought Miami was the best team, which was an interesting argument. I don't think I ever thought Miami was the best team at any point throughout the year. But I did think that they were at least a decent team. That defense is very good. And I think the one thing that helped them is Carson Beck never really had that bad game. He played okay to fairly well throughout the entire playoff. So that was something that had kind of cost him more throughout his career, and it didn't really hurt him here in the Miami game. I think also, which probably, maybe a discussion for a different day. I think we saw a lot of I think is the college community have talked about with Mendoza is like, he's a good player, but he's not like from an NFL perspective.
Can't miss.
Yes, I agree. And like everybody, there's a lot of people who think like, hey, he like deserves this, which don't get me wrong. Like, Felix were here. He'd love what I'm about to say. As a human being, I think Fernando Mendoza is a great guy. I love his attitude and kind of the way he attacks life. But as a football player, there's a lot left to be desired. And so I thought, again, we saw him in a big game. Now he had a couple big throws. Although I forgot what his name is. Really
Becker?
Adjusted to Becker really adjusted to some of those balls to make them, but obviously he had that huge fourth down run that really kind of gave them the win. So he had his moment. It was not someone else that won them that game. Mendoza had his moment, but I think again, you go to the Ohio State game. There was another one that they played earlier on in the, I don't think it was the Oregon game, but when they played tougher opponents, Mendoza kind of, in my opinion, shrunk in the
light. He wasn't good against Penn State either.
Maybe that was the game.
And he gets a lot of credit for that throw at the end of the game that they obviously won the game for them, but it ignores the first 58 minutes of the game where he was not very good, quite frankly. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you can say the same thing in that Big Ten championship game, right? Like he was not good, but he made a couple big throws at the end of that game to kind of get them down there to salt away the game and end up winning it, which again matters, right? Like if you don't have those moments and it's someone else, and I think it hurts you, but he had those moments again, same thing in the national championship game, the fourth down run for the touchdown is a big moment. So like he has those, but I think the overall gameplay was not great. And we've kind of seen that throughout the year against tougher opponents. Miami was definitely a tough opponent.
They were. What I will say, because I've been a big, like Mendoza to me is like Dollar General Drake May.
Okay.
Like in terms of what his ability is kind of the spectrum that Colin and I talked about that at one point, and I put him on there on Campus Life. The one thing that I will say that I think maybe a different QB wouldn't do is that they came into that game with what was very obviously a very specific game plan. because I think they knew. Well, I think they said like this is what we're gonna probably have to end up doing because of the of Miami's pass rush. Like we're gonna have to go RPO heavy. We're gonna have to get the ball out in like 2 or 3 seconds. What I did think was interesting as a part of that game plan and what they've done all year is that like those corners were cheating up. I'm just surprised they never really hit the big play downfield, that they were still looking for that back shoulder throw. And it was very like, he did take the shot once or twice. I mean, it's not like he never tried it, but I would have thought that they could have broken 1 or 2 real big ones that way, just because of, you know, those corners are anticipating the pass rush getting home quickly. They're playing up on them and their, you know, potential to get beat. So I will say a lot of quarterbacks wouldn't have been so willing to just operate that game plan. They would have said like, I'm going to go for the deep shot. I'm going to go for the kill shot. I'm going to run around and make things happen. And to Mendoza's credit, like he really played within that game plan, really didn't make any mistakes. Like how many passes did he even, I can't remember anything that he threw that I was like, oh, that probably should have been picked. Like, did he make the perfect decision every time? I mean, no, nobody does. But like, there was never like a wow, like Mendoza really got bailed out on that one. You know, maybe it was even like a little overly conservative. But again, I think that was the game plan, and he played within it and executed it the way that Curt Cignetti wanted him to. So I will give him a lot of credit for that.
Yeah, I can't think of any either. I mean, again, I think some of his throws were not great, specifically in those final couple drives where, again, Becker was bailing him out with just some amazing catches and the way he was adjusting to the ball. But I think you could also say, in fairness to Mendoza, like he wasn't throwing it in a place where Miami was at least going to. Oh, I take that back. There was one play.
He had that one where it got jumped and it almost was.
The screenplay. Yeah, that was. I thought that was gonna be a pick six, and he looked like he jumped it just a tad second late, and he had to throw his arm out there instead of being able to pick it. But yeah, that's probably the only one that I can think of that was just like, as soon as it happened, I was like, that's a pick six. And then it just happened. But I feel like maybe I'm thinking of the wrong game here, because all of that stuff is kind of mold. I am. It's whoever Miami played in the last game. I'm sorry. That's who dropped like 4 picks. They dropped like 4 picks against whoever they played in the last round.
Hambless.
Yeah. So, yeah. So again, I don't disagree with you. I think Roman Hemby was a lot better in that second half too, and I think he was a key. I don't know enough people are talking about how good I think he was in the second half of that game to really kind of keep those drives alive for them as well. I think both run games. Mark Fletcher, which I haven't looked into this. Do you know why he was trying to fight whoever he was trying to fight at the end of the game?
So somebody like connected to the Miami program said on social media, like almost immediately after, that it was because that kid in Indiana, Mark Fletcher's father, passed away earlier this year or last year, within the last 18 months, and they were saying that he said a comment about it, but it is apparently since like that been deleted, and I think that they were saying that the guy that was saying that actually has also lost his mother or something. So like they kind of found that maybe a little bit unlikely. That I don't know. I mean, maybe we'll never know. It's. People still debate. Did Mason Rudolph call
Myles
Garrett the N-word? Like, we're never gonna know what happened there. And I think depending on whatever team you root for is probably the narrative that you will take.
Nah, man, I think Myles Garrett went a little too far. I did love the memes back
a little too far
of the dent in Mason Rudolph's head. The memes that were, I mean, you don't swing a helmet at someone's head. I mean,
little.
Again, I mean,
I'm a Steelers fan, so again, like you take the side. I thought he should have had a pretty hefty suspension. Like I was shocked that he only
don't disagree with you. Again, I think it just comes down to if the biggest thing is the stance they take on that. And I don't want to go like on a whole thing here because that's nothing to do with what we're talking about here. But like the stance they take on racism, if he said what was claimed he said, I think that's probably why they didn't go as harsh on Myles Garrett. But yeah, if that player really did lose his mother, I would find it hard, especially in that moment where like you've just won a national championship. Like there's no, why are you, I guess in quote unquote, as the kids say, rage baiting Mark Fletcher Jr.?
I don't think
like,
that
there's no reason to.
That's not like the natural first reaction.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I don't want to litigate it because I don't know, maybe he did say it, maybe he didn't. I have no idea. So, but I'm interested to see if he comes out in this draft. Fletcher. Let's go to Fletcher. I mean, he had a big game. Obviously, I think a lot of it came on that 53, 56, 60 yard, whatever touchdown run that he had. My opinion on him really hasn't changed that much this season. I've been pretty staunch. Like, he's super tight hipped. He's kind of stiff. He's a little bit of an upright runner. He's a bigger back. It certainly has its place in the NFL. And but I don't know that he's like an obvious, like, really high end future NFL starter. He feels more like a committee guy in the NFL. Have you changed your mind on him? I mean, 4 100-yard games, I believe, through the playoff there for them in their run.
No, I mean, again, I don't think you're wrong on what you're saying about him. And I think the big thing that has helped him is I think he's got enough burst that when he gets through that line, he can be effective in kind of getting down the field a little bit. He's had some, I will say he's had a lot more longer runs than I thought he was going to have. I don't know. We kind of joked about this. It's probably like the beginning of the playoffs, probably after Mark Fletcher did what he did against Ohio State. And we were joking about, I think you read on the show the profile that Felix wrote up on him.
Yeah.
Because I remember it was like the start of like the whole thing. It was a very funny moment for us on and everything. But I think he's probably a little bit better than I thought he was going to be, but like, it's not a massive thing. And like, I think because of his production, I think a coach will fall in love with how hard he runs the ball and everything. And even though I don't disagree with you, he's probably like a first, second down plotter, a guy who's going to maybe a goal line. And I don't want to just peg him into like being a goal line back, but maybe used more specifically in that way in the NFL. I think an NFL coach will love him enough that they will draft him early. I would not be surprised if he's drafted at the end of day 2, but like, he's not a guy that I think is going to be, I guess the way I would put it is I'll let other people draft him in my rookie drafts, and I'll go for somebody else because I don't think at the end of the day he's going to be a guy that I'm super thrilled to have on my rosters.
He is not, for what it's worth, officially declared, and there is some rumblings just in terms of what kind of cash he thinks he can make next year, and he's doing that whole calculus right now. I will say, on the fast draft origin drafts that I think he's my most drafted player right now because he's just been like my 6th pick out of 6 rounds. Like, he's been my last round pick a bunch. So it doesn't kill me, but like, if he does declare, I think that he's a guy that like I'm sitting really pretty with him. Like, just, he reminds me a lot of, like, he's in the bucket of like Audric Estime.
That's fair.
I don't think they're that dissimilar, where they're these straight line guys. I call them runway runners. Like, if they can get a runway going, they're big and they're fast when they hit top speed, and that's a little bit dangerous. But it's a lot harder to do that in the NFL. The only guy that I can think of that's really been able to do it in the NFL is Derrick Henry. And Mark Fletcher, you are not Derrick Henry.
Yeah,
nobody is Derrick Henry. Yeah. So I still think he is a day 3 talent, personally. And this playoff run didn't really change that much for me. It is nice to see him healthy, though, because he basically did miss, parts of 2 seasons with injuries, which is, always crappy for these guys.
Yeah. No, yeah, I do not disagree with you.
Any other thoughts on that game? I kept thinking that Indiana was going to pull away. Like, it felt like it at multiple times the second half, like they would score. Especially after that blocked punt, I was like, okay, like Miami's in trouble. They responded every time. I was really impressed with their ability to sustain drives and realizing, shout out to Shannon Dawson, who I thought had some really questionable play calling throughout the playoff. Basically, by midway through the third quarter was like, F it. It's either Malachi Toney or Mark Fletcher. Yeah. Like, nobody else out here like deserves to even touch the ball. Let's go. And it really, really worked for them.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't, and me and Chris K talked about this last week. I think my biggest issue with Indiana is I just don't think they have that game breaker player on offense. And so that was kind of my fear about them going up against this Miami defense. Like you were just talking earlier about why they didn't really challenge deep on that. I just think it's because the wide receivers couldn't get deep in time for Mendoza to let it go. Because that offensive line, probably for the first time all season, was truly challenged. Maybe the Penn State game. Because Ohio State didn't really. I mean, they caused Mendoza issues, but it wasn't what we saw Monday night.
I think Ohio State said we're not going to like push guys up in the pocket. Like we don't want Mendoza to trickle out, I think was Ohio State's game plan. And not that they have a great pass rush anyway, but I think that they truly were like, we're going to keep him in front of us. We're going to keep him in the pocket. If he's extending the play, it's a lot more dangerous. And you can't really argue with it. I mean, they held him to 13 points, or their lowest output of the season. I think it was the right game plan for what Ohio State had personnel-wise.
Yeah, I mean, you're a field goal kick away from going to overtime. Maybe things change. I still think Indiana was the better team, but I don't disagree with you there. So I think if they had like that game breaker on offense, wide receiver wise, I do think they probably would have pulled away, but I was not expecting it. The only reason I was expecting anything to change was I was waiting for Carson Beck to make a mistake that was going to give Indiana a larger lead and then maybe try and force it even more. But again, that Indiana defense, I mean, you just mentioned it. Malachi Tony had over 100 yards, right? Like they couldn't stop him either. So and especially it was probably, I don't think it was a 57-yard Fletcher run. Maybe it was. Was that the one that put it up at 21 when they took the lead? Was that the run right there? Or I think he ran it in from like 5 or 6 yards.
No, I think that was a shorter touchdown. I don't know if it was him or if it was Tony, but yeah.
I think it was the Tony play actually, where that's what it was, where he actually broke through, like getting tackled and then ran it in for the touchdown. That's the only time that I actually thought, I was like, wow, is Miami actually going to do this? Because for me, when I was watching it, all the stars, in my opinion, were on Miami's offense. And again, I don't think Mark Fletcher's a star, but he was doing what he was doing. And Indiana was at times struggling to stop him. Malachi Tony at times seemed unstoppable as well, where I just don't feel like Indiana had that player. It really did come down to, again, Mendoza making that fourth down play to kind of give Indiana that championship. So I think if they had one of those guys, if they had, I was trying to think of what wide receivers were in the transfer portal. Maybe they could have landed at one point. If they would have had their own Malachi Tony.
What if they were able to roll Nick Marsh out there after picking him up in the portal?
I think they probably would have won by like 14-17. Yeah. Because again, I think Marsh would have been able to get deep at some point, like you were saying, and them actually challenge that instead of them just kind of being held up.
The only player on that team that really strikes me as being able to consistently win deep is Charlie Becker. Are you buying Charlie Becker stock for 2026? I managed to scoop him at the end of the season in, I believe, 2 leagues.
Yeah.
And the hype has surprised me a little bit on him. I think he's been good. No doubt about it. I'm not sure that I'm seeing the high level athleticism that people are slapping on him label-wise right now. But it could just be, again, the function of the offense where it's just like, we're going to throw a back shoulder and you go ahead and do something with that. Maybe Hoover is going to be a little more willing next year. I mean, I'm not saying maybe. Hoover is definitely more willing to say, F it, somebody's down there somewhere.
I think I would be, because I don't see in like the one thing with Indiana's offense, right? They're not ever going to go into a game, and if they get, say, a 17 to 21 point lead, I don't ever see Cignetti being like, okay, guys, let's pump the brakes a little bit. Let's slow it down. And I think having Nick Marsh opposite of him is going to benefit him a lot, especially if Marsh ends up getting double covered. I still think Hoover will probably force it into Marsh at times, even when that is happening. But if Becker is there, especially with his ability to kind of, again, contort his body, make those difficult catches, Hoover's not afraid to throw it into tight areas and let Becker go get it as well. So I do think I'd be willing to buy. I question what he is from like an NFL standpoint, but for next year, if you're talking about just from like a fantasy perspective and what we think he could be, I would not be surprised if he ends up being like a fairly decent, like wide receiver 3 to flex option, like a guy you can start every week and puts up enough points to help you win. I do think, because again, I think Indiana's offense is just going to score. I don't know what their schedule is, but I imagine they're going to be able to do fairly close to what they did this last year.
Matt, I know we didn't discuss this beforehand. I have some buy or sell, kind of aftermath reactions to this game that I want to ask you. I'm actually going to throw it to break here real quick, and then we get back. I'm going to lob some of these at you and have you thinking on your feet a little bit. I do this to call on all the time, so I'm going to hit you with a little bit. See how you do. All right, we'll be right back. Hey guys, Austin here to talk for a brief moment about Home Field Apparel, the best place to snag clothing for all my favorite schools and teams. Whether it's tees, sweatshirts, hats, joggers, or pretty much anything in between, Home Field Apparel has retro designs with a modern twist to satisfy fans from Ohio State to Drexel to Colorado School of the Mines. Plus, it's some of the comfiest clothing that I own. Use our promo code Campus2Canton, that's Campus the number 2 Canton at checkout for 15% off your first purchase. What's up, guys? Austin here again to let you know about our partnership with Fast Draft, a best ball and DFS platform that hosts a ton of different contests. With the season over and season-long CFF best ball behind us, I know I'm looking for new contests that can scratch my drafting itch, and I think I have found just the thing. Fast Draft has a rookie-only contest called Origins. Each draft has 8 teams in it and is 6 rounds long. And as I mentioned earlier, you only draft incoming 2026 rookies. I know I plan on max entering this thing, and I think it's going to be a ton of fun. So head on over to Fast Draft, and when you sign up, use code C2C, that's C2C, for a deposit match up to $50. Happy drafting. All right, we are back here on C2C Live. Austin, Nace, Matt Bruening. As I mentioned before we went to break there, I'm going to toss you some buy or sells here, Matt. These are some reactions / looking forward to next year a little bit because, you know, what else are we going to do at this time of the year? We got a long, cold winter ahead of us. So you guys getting snow? Are you guys part of this winter bomb that's about to go off?
Texas is about to shut down. I'm actually like semi worried about my health over the next couple of days. It's supposed to get what are they saying? What the meteorologists say yesterday, it's like the worst winter storm we've had here in like 8 years. And, you know, Texas is just not, I mean, if it just sleets, Texas pretty much shuts down. We can't handle that stuff. So, it'll be interesting to see what happens. I'm excited for what I think they said, like multiple inches of ice and then 4 to 5 inches of snow at some point. So
we were supposed to travel this weekend and now we think we're not going to, because I don't know if anybody's familiar with Pittsburgh listening to the show. We live up, like if you're watching the like Monday Night Football and they cut to the city and stuff and they always show like the inclines going up the hill and you can see like the mountain there, Mount Washington, and it like overlooks the whole city. We live up there. We live on the side of a very steep hill. Like, I don't think I really want to move my car or like really leave the house or really do anything if we're about to get the snow we're about to get. So working on my wife on that one. That's an in-law visit. We'll see if we can.
I think they'll understand. You know, you got the kid. You know, kid's got to come first. All that other stuff. I'm right there with you. My biggest fear is the power going out again. I think last time we had a big storm here, power was out for like 4 days. And it's not fun when it's negative degrees outside of it. No power.
Yeah. All right, buy or sell, Matt. Here's the first one. I saw the stat floating around that Carson Beck had lost 6 games in his collegiate career in which he started, and I believe 4 of them were games that ended on him throwing an interception.
Yeah.
You hear a lot of people talk about how, and I think like visually it kind of checks out. Like his arm is not super functional at the moment compared to what it used to be before the Tommy John. Now maybe another year makes that a little bit better. Who knows? I don't know how those things work. Buy or sell, Carson Beck gets drafted.
Oh, buy. He's going to get drafted.
Buy or sell, Carson Beck gets drafted before round 5.
For round 5.
You thought that first one was a softball, and you thought the rest of them were going to be softballs, didn't you?
No. Is this so like we're talking over? So if he goes at like 5-1, that would be a sell, correct?
I'll say 5th round or earlier. Like, you know,
I'll buy that. I think he'll go before the 6th round. I'll put it to you that way. So if the 5th round counts as that, I'll say buy.
I'm going to sell because I don't think he's going to interview well.
That's probably very fair.
And I think he's going to get some negative feedback on the arm. I'm interested to see what those medical checks look like. I bet he will be off of some boards. Then again, we said the same thing about Michael Penix, and he went 111.
Yeah, I don't know.
With that,
Colin
108, whatever.
Got it tattooed on his.
Colin definitely knows.
Yeah.
So
I mean, you know, if we're really being honest, there's some real macho men in NFL locker rooms. Some of them may really enjoy the Snapchat stories, and he might come out of some interviews way ahead. So, just say it. I think some of the more professional organizations will not like it, but some of
good thing that Jeff Ireland is not still at GM. I don't know if anyone remembers that story about him talking to Des Bryant. So get some interesting questions in that interview, I'm sure.
Yeah.
All right. Buy or sell, Elijah Surratt goes day 2.
Oh, God.
Elijah Surratt in that national championship game was basically non-existent. He had 1 or 2 really bad drops, which are kind of supposed to be like his, his hands are supposed to be his best asset. That in that game, 3 catches for 28 yards, 0 touchdowns for a guy that some people really, really like.
I'm going to sell this. I've never been the biggest Surratt fan. I think the reason he's come back is because he's not been getting good, notes from the drafts committee, however you want to put it. So I will sell this. I think he's probably a day 3 guy.
In fairness to him, he is a true senior. So it's not like he's one of these guys that's squeezing out some extra years. I will sell it as well. I think he probably goes like round 4, round 5. He's not going to do any of the combine stuff because he's not going to test well. He's very, very slow. He's not very athletic.
Yeah.
But it's going to really hurt having that be your last game that you put out there.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, on a related note, Omar Cooper goes before Elijah Surratt, the other Indiana wide receiver this year. Now, technically, Cooper can return, and we haven't heard any news one way or the other, but it does stand to reason with Becker and Marsh there that they are at least positioned for him to leave.
Before him. So, golly. I'm trying to think in my head of like how deep this wide receiver class is.
I've got some good ones in here, by the way.
Cooper's not a bad athlete.
No, he's an interesting athlete, yeah.
But the thing, you know what? I'll buy it actually, because I could see Surratt falling to like the end of the 4th, 5th round. And because of the athlete Cooper is, I don't know that he will go day 2, but I could see him getting picked before Surratt, even in the 4th round. So I'll buy it.
This is Cooper technically has another year if he wants it because he did redshirt in 2022 as a freshman, but has been at Indiana his whole career. This season, 69 catches, 937 yards, and 13 touchdowns, which I actually believe by the end of the season was, I actually think he finished the season. I know Surratt missed a little bit of time. Yeah, he actually had more catches, yards, and just 2 fewer touchdowns than Surratt this season. Really kind of came on late there at the end. I'm going to buy it. I think he does end up going before Surratt. I think he goes maybe early round 3.
It's possible, yeah.
He's kind of more of an underneath, I don't want to say gadgety, but definitely more of like a yak guy, intermediate stuff, but it's a place for that in the NFL. Buy or sell, Indiana's pass offense is actually more prolific on a pure numbers basis than this season. In 16 games this year, Indiana threw for 3,826 yards. And if you just want to reduce it down to the starting quarterback, Fernando Mendoza, in 16 games this season threw for 3,535 yards, 41 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions.
I'm going to pretty easily buy this because while we were at the break, I pulled up Indiana's schedule, and by golly, is it really easy.
We know they play Ohio State. They announced that.
They play Ohio State and Michigan, and then everybody else they should walk over, including Howard, Western Kentucky, North Texas, Northwestern, Purdue, Rutgers. I definitely think Josh Hoover's going to have himself a pretty great year. And then again, when you add a talent like Nick Marsh, I will take the buy pretty easily here.
I actually think I'm going to buy it as well. I think they lose both their running backs, correct? They do bring in Turbo Richard, and they were somebody else they were looking at. I don't remember if they actually ended up bringing them in or not. Maybe someone in the comments or something, because I saw some people floating around out there know better than me. I think they might have to, and Hoover is a little more of like a effort guy, as I mentioned. Like I think they'll game plan to that strength. I don't think they'll try to squeeze Josh Hoover into a box. That's not what really Kurt Cignetti seems to do. So maybe he'll rein him in a little bit, but I think there's a real chance that they throw the ball more. And so, just by that standard, I think that there's a real chance that he throws for more yards.
The only one they've brought in so far is Turbo.
It is just
running back
Turbo.
wise.
They were
Yeah,
looking
so
at
far.
somebody else, so maybe they didn't end up pulling the trigger on that. Wouldn't shock me if they go grab one more guy.
Yeah,
We'll see. I don't know what else is out there in the portal right now. All right, Matt. Here's one.
okay.
Miami starting quarterback week 1 is Darian Mensah. Buy or sell?
Oh, God, I haven't been paying attention to any of this stuff with Darian Mensah.
We have to talk
heard,
about it, right?
I've heard people mention. I mean, I know Duke's suing him, and I think I was listening to Mike and Corey talk about today on Back to Devi, and I was listening to that about. I'll just give my quick take. I think it is really crappy thing for what he did to literally enter the last second, but I'll buy it. I don't know who else they're going to go get at this point, and they don't have anyone on their roster. I think that can be a legitimate starter, so I'm going to buy it. I think they go get Darian Mensah, and he is their guy.
I'm going to sell.
Okay.
Solely because I think there are still Duke still has a lot of outs, a lot of mechanisms to play around with here to either delay this beyond a certain point or to strong arm him or Miami into a position that they find a little more favorable for themselves. So I'm going to sell it. I also think that what he did was completely inappropriate.
Yeah.
I think you can root for these guys to make some money without this kind of stuff. I think it's really hypocritical for the lawyer that helped negotiate the contract at Duke, for him to be representing him now and saying that actually the contract isn't binding in certain areas, even though he's the one that helped draft it up. And he is, I believe, a law professor at Miami, which feels like also a conflict of interest.
Yeah. Only slightly.
Just a little bit. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see. I mean, I am an attorney, but I don't do anything with this area of the law, so I'm not going to pretend that I have a great prediction. But it does feel like there are really interesting arguments to be made on both sides.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for the player empowerment era as well, but I think there's just some things that just go too far. But
I also really
get off my lawn.
I also really hate the argument when people say, like, if somebody offered you more money for the same job, you would go do the same job. And I think that it ignores the
Felix
amount of
H. Sharp II prime argument there.
I'm a normie.
Yeah.
To me, there is functionally no difference between $4 and $6 million. I kind of feel like if you've got an agreement one place and these people overpaid out the butt last year, for you, when everyone laughed at it and like they stood behind you and you put up a really good season there, I don't know that I would be like itching to leave there for what doesn't feel like any more like life-changing money than what he's already making there.
I think that's fair because not to say that Mensah doesn't. I'm just speaking solely for me here. I know nothing about Darian Mensah. I think loyalty does matter to a lot of people, but I'm going to talk out of both sides of my mouth right now. Man, I understand, being as you put it, a normie. There is a massive difference between $4 and $6 million. It's $2 extra million. So I don't know. I don't know that I.
What would you do with $6 million that was different than $4 million?
I don't know, but it's $2 extra million I have to spend. That's the way I would look at it. However, it would be very hard for me to do the same thing. I tend to be a very loyal person. So like, unless it was something, the difference for me in this scenario would be, and I guess you could make this argument, is if Mensah's leaving Duke to go to Miami, even if it was for the equal pay, you're increasing your chance at winning a national championship, which is like, so if that's the argument he makes, I will kind of understand it. I will never hate on someone who's trying to do something what 1% of the human population will ever get to do, if that less than 1% to win a national championship. Yeah. So like, I'll never hate on someone trying to do that. But if it's just for the money thing, then I don't disagree with you. I think, at some point loyalty matters. And I think when you're loyal to people or stuff like that, like at the end of the day, it ends up coming back and helping you or hurting you, depending on how you handle the situation. So we'll see what happens. Again, not anything against Darian Mensah. Don't know him. So yeah, good luck to you, brother. That's what I'll say.
Buy or sell. Alberto Mendoza starts week 1 for Georgia Tech. Mendoza has already entered the portal following the national championship game. and has committed to Georgia Tech.
I'm going to be honest. I don't even know who's on their roster because Philo left.
Grady Adamson is there. We liked him as a recruit last year. They have the true freshman that they flipped from Virginia Tech when they had their whole coaching change, whose name is escaping me right now. I do have my freshman rankings up.
Is that Graham Knowles?
Graham Knowles, who threw like one pass this year. Or where's this QB? The true freshman is Cole Bergeron, who's a borderline 3-4 star.
I'll sell it. I'll hope Grady gets it. I do remember Grady now. We were pretty big fans of his. So yeah, I'll sell it and hope that Grady ends up getting the job. I don't think Alberto is anything special. So
I have heard some stuff behind the scenes that Adamson got a lot better this year too. Like they're really encouraged by how good he is. Buy or sell, I'll sell it. Buy or sell, Alberto Mendoza is good.
Buying,
that's the question.
Good. Buy is good, sell is bad.
Yeah.
Sell. I'll sell it.
I would sell too. I think that sometimes these do work out, but he felt very much like we have 105 roster spots now. Like, sure, we'll give your brother one too.
Yeah.
And now people are like, oh, he was a hot name in the portal. It's like,
yeah.
Okay.
Last names, man. They matter. They matter.
Last one that I have here, Matt. Miami gets better wide receiver 2 production next year. And just, again, these numbers are skewed a little bit. I don't have the regular season stats in front of me. Miami's second leading receiver this year, obviously after Malachi Toney, was Keelan Marion, who I believe is out of eligibility. He had 57 catches for 746 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Daniels is gone too, right? He's got to leave. He's got to be.
I believe Daniels and Marion are both done. So it's probably going to be some mixture of Joshua Moore. I mean, JoJo Trader exists. And then I don't think they brought anything into the portal or like they have some interesting freshmen coming in. Van Spafford, Samorian Wingo. What is Milan Paris them or is he Oklahoma? I forget.
I think Paris is Miami. I think I actually like
Paris and Jaden Pettit are really similar, and I always get them confused. Paris is Miami. Yeah.
Is Joshua Moore still in Miami?
I'd mentioned Moore. Yeah, more this season as a true freshman for them. He had a pretty good year overall. He better than I thought it was going to be. 17 catches, 210 yards, and 2 touchdowns, and was getting pretty consistent snaps. He was there.
Man, actually, I don't know because a lot of this I think is going to hinge on what Fletcher does. If Fletcher stays, I will sell this because I think Cristobal's always been so big on the run that I think they'll just continue to lean on that, even if Mensa comes in, who I think overall might be a little bit better. Well, actually, I don't. I'm going to sell altogether, actually, because assuming Mensa's their quarterback, I don't know that he's going to be much better for this offense than Beck was. Like, again, I don't think Beck is a great quarterback, but I do think he's less prone to mistakes than Darian Mensa is. So I think even if they try to throw the ball more with Dawson, bring in Mensa in, I think he'll throw more interceptions. So I will sell this. I think it'll be worse than, or I guess equal to whatever it was this year.
Okay. All right. Well, that does it for our buy sell section here. We're gonna take, this is for the podcast. We're gonna take one more break. And then when we come back, we will pick our Heisman. All right, we're back. I've always wanted to do that one. That's a fun maneuver. All right, Matt, this is about as straightforward as it gets. We need to pick a 2026 Heisman favorite.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Who do you like? I haven't even looked and see what's out in the books already.
Well, I brought this up.
Arch.
Jared posted this. Would you like to know who the top are right now?
I'm assuming it's Arch is number 1.
He is not. FanDuel dropped this. Man, did you miss all this in the chat? We had like a big. Well, I did not participate, but I loved reading what everybody was talking about. CJ Carr is the odds-on favorite right now to be the Heisman winner next year at +800. Yeah.
Interesting.
followed closely by Arch Manning at plus 850. Then you have Jeremiah Smith and Julian Sain both tied at 1100 with Josh Hoover and Dante Moore, Gunnar Stockton and Sam Levitt at 1300, John Mateer at 1600, and then I don't think really anybody below that has any shot. They do have Malachi Tony on the list though at 2700. And I love that they have Dylan Raiola on here too at 4,000. I guess assuming maybe Dante Moore gets hurt or in some way. I think my early bet to win the Heisman, I will throw. Can I give you more than one, or I got to give you one? I'm putting all my money.
Yeah, throw out a few names. Sure.
I don't think putting money on Hoover is a bad option because I do think he can be better than Mendoza. We just talked about the offense.
Let's say more prolific than Mendoza. Statistically better. I don't know that he'll be better.
The other two that are fairly interesting, I know I will put money on Sam Levitt. I just think if they can get what they got out of him in the first season at Arizona State with Lane Kiffin at LSU and LSU makes the playoffs, I think he will kind of end up running away with this thing. That might be it because I want to trust Sellers, especially with the new offensive coordinator, but I just don't know what South Carolina is going to do. I'm trying to think of who I think maybe could be a surprise. I'm gonna give you one surprise one too, but give me what your thoughts are real quick, and I'm gonna give you a surprise one.
Okay, you think on your surprise one? I think I have a good surprise one. I don't think it's probably getting really bet at all right now. I do think that, looking at QBs that you think are going to make the playoffs is not the worst strategy. In fact, I would say it's probably the best strategy. So yeah, we are probably talking if you want to take a longer shot, I think you're looking at some of those fringy playoff teams like Bryce Underwood.
I thought about it, but I just, I don't know
that Michigan could be a fringy potential playoff team.
Yeah.
That one makes sense to me. I agree. LSU, if they kind of turn around, Sam Levitt could be interesting there. My sneaky one, Byron Brown.
I thought about Byron Brown too. I did because I like obviously him being there with Golesh.
I think they'll rely on him pretty heavily.
Yeah.
Auburn has, obviously a tough schedule, but it's not unmanageable. They have next season Baylor, Southern Miss, Florida, Vandy, Tennessee, Georgia, LSU, Ole Miss. I think Ole Miss takes a big step back next year.
Yeah.
Arkansas, Mississippi State, Samford, and then, as always, Bama to wrap up the year. There are certainly some tough games in there, but we saw them debating, up to 6-7 SEC teams potentially to make the playoff.
Sorry, I had to do it.
I did it to myself. I have no one to blame. I'll be better next week. I think if you can get through their first 5 games, they have their bye week after the 5th game. Baylor, Southern Miss, Florida, Vanderbilt, Tennessee. Yeah. I think you start thinking about that potentially because then you have your run of Georgia, LSU, Ole Miss. You can probably afford to drop 2 of those 3 and still make the playoff if you maybe can beat Alabama at the end of the year.
Yeah, that's fair.
If you can go 2-2 in Georgia, LSU, Ole Miss, Alabama, again, Auburn. What do we talk about Auburn? They did lose a lot of players in the portal. I don't think most of them, if you talk to most Auburn fans, were guys that they're necessarily worried about coming back. Although also one of the more delusional fan bases in the country. So do what you want to do with that. But I think generally what they're saying holds up. That's a team that if they win a bunch of shootout typey games because of Byron Brown, I think that he's certainly in play.
There's 2 more that I wonder if you could even get odds on either one of these players.
Oh, Joe Burrow's dad got odds on Joe Burrow that year, so I think you can you can ask and they'll give you something.
And this is 1,000% because of what you just said. It's about getting into the playoffs, and if this year is any indication, which I do think it is, I think we've slowly been moving this way over the past couple of years of again these teams being more closer in competition, almost like an NFL thing. Don't get me wrong. I get it. Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs were making the playoffs and Super Bowl every year, every other year. But those teams are so close in talent that I think there's not really any big separation, at least the way college football was for a long time. We're kind of getting more toward everybody is fairly close. So it really kind of comes down to those big playmakers. There's 2 quarterbacks that I think in separate conferences could possibly win their conference. Both, well, one's a transfer, one's not.
Okay.
That I think could be very interesting.
I have a name in mind. I'm curious if you say if it's
Go ahead. Tell me who it is. I'll tell you if it is.
Kevin Jennings?
No, it's not Kevin Jennings.
Okay.
He plays Kevin Jennings.
Okay.
Jaren Saga-Pulatele.
Oh.
Kiave Saga. Cal's schedule is not. They do get Clemson early, but they've done a lot.
Bad. Like Clemson might just legit be bad.
I think they will be. No offense, Shane. I know you're always here. We love
Shane's
you.
Gonna listen. Shout out Shane. We're not trying to crap on Clemson.
We're not.
We might have hit the point of no return on this.
I think it's. I don't disagree with you. Outside of that, I mean, they do get Pitt. We'll see what Pitt does. You know, with Heisman Heinschel, but that's it until SMU at the end of the year. Like, and what they brought in the portal, the new offensive coordinator. They bring in a new offensive coordinator. Am I thinking of? Yep. Yeah. I think that Cal could be a fairly dangerous team next year. And then the obvious one, Drew Mestemaker at Oklahoma State. If he can put up those kinds of stats again in the Big 12, they do get Texas Tech. So that'll be the big game.
They have an incredibly difficult schedule. I don't know if you've looked at their schedule.
I did. Oregon, I get. But if he loses to Oregon, I don't think they hold that against him. UCF, Houston, Colorado,
you can't lose another game
Iowa State.
after that, though.
Yeah, you can. You can lose another one. I think so.
You think?
Yeah. Travis Hunter, well, granted, he was special, but if they lose to Oregon in a tight game, then I don't think if they lose to Texas Tech, I still don't think it matters if he puts up close to what he did last year. It's if they lose multiple games after that. I think he can lose 2. And I think, at Houston could be tough, especially if Houston plays kind of what they did. It is a tough game, but I think outside of that, look, don't get me wrong. I'm all aboard the Mountaineer train. They're probably going to beat West Virginia, Murray State. Big
WVU guy over here.
I am. Lifelong. Just wait. I don't think Arizona State's going to be that good this year. Kansas State, Kansas. I think it's a very winnable schedule, especially if Morris is able to get that offense going. And if it ends up becoming shootouts, which I kind of expect it will, because I don't think Oklahoma State's defense is going to be particularly that good. And Drew Mestemaker again puts up those kind of stats again in the Big 12, he'll be in the race. And so that's all you need. Because if we have another down year, like we did this year, again, no offense to Fernando Mendoza, you go look. No. I think you brought this up.
Little offense. I mean,
okay, sorry. You brought this up when we talked about the Heisman. With Heisman, if you look at his touchdowns and everything else, it's very subpar compared to some of the players that we've had win the Heisman before. I think Mestemaker could do it. So him and Jaren Kiave Saga-Pulatele would be 2 that I'd put. I'd throw a little pull a Colin Decker special. $5 on it or something like that, and see what happens.
I think Connor Wegman might have a better chance than Mestemaker if we're talking Big 12 QBs.
That's fair. I don't know what Houston's schedule looks like. He was very good last year.
Well, we know they have at least one gimme against Oklahoma State. So, just kidding. I don't know either.
We'll have a side bet on that game.
Well, once my 2 T-shirts from this season arrive, Matthew.
Well, 2. I owe you 1. Do I owe you 2?
I'm pretty sure you owe me 2. I think I have 2 from you and 1 from Colin. I have to go back and dig through the archive.
I know I owe you the Keelan Russell one. I don't remember what the other one is.
Maybe there's only 1. I thought I had 3 coming total.
I know I owe Woody 1 too. I got to figure out what size.
Colin gave up week 9 on the JoJo Trader.
Yes, I do remember.
I had my shirt by Thanksgiving. I was like,
I actually need to do that. I was looking the other day at a bunch of shirts because I have 3 WVU ones in my cart, and I'm trying to decide which one I want to get. So
it'll be a send you the one that I have. They don't make it anymore. Mystery box shirt that I actually am I wearing it right now? I think so. All right.
Nice.
I'll send you this. Game worn, baby. I'll autograph it for
you. Sign it for me? Thank you.
Obviously.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for tonight's show. Apologies to Kirk. We ran a little long on the buy and sell there, and so we ran out of time. We'll get him rescheduled for next week. Make sure you're checking out everything over at campus2canton.com. Everything else here on the podcast feed, the subscribe, all that good stuff to everything we got going on. From Matt Bruening, from Austin Nace, good night. Good luck.